Margaret in Windsor, and I have to tell this to give background on what I'm saying on the video. I was kidnapped from Buckingham Palace in 41, born in 39, taken to Moulton, Alabama, given the name of a twin, Peggy and Dempsey. I married to Childers. Both twins, Peggy and Carl Preston Dempsey, had been killed by their mother, Lina. They were born out of wedlock, and it was nothing short of a pigsty where they dropped me off. My own Uncle George VI, illegal, he is, and that makes Elizabeth illegal. They're not the monarch, and their offsprings aren't Charles and William. They even had the gall to name little George after their relative, George VI, who helped kidnap me and take down the real monarch. Forced abdication. My father never married Wallace Simpson. He was married to American Claudie Ruth O'Keefe from Madison, Wisconsin. My mother, I was born in 39, kidnapped in 41 by the New World Order, the Illuminati. Elizabeth is a member. The Freemasons, it's all the same people, the global government that's in place now. And the Clintons are members, and so are probably most of the American presidents. Now, I want to get to this. I wrote a book, a medical malpractice book on mind control, 76 to 80. April Fool Day, I had antifreeze put in me, should have died. But this is just ongoing, an incident, if you want to call that an incident out of my life and my son's. I'm Victoria II, heir to the British Crown. And 99-year seal was put on my dad's forced abdication. My father was a beautiful man. That's the reason they had to get rid of him. Married to my mom, not Wallace Simpson. And Madonna even had the movie, The Duke and Duchess of Windsor. That's a total lie. Look at the wealth, and she made a hero out of them. And at about the same time was the movie The King's Speech, making a hero out of this slug that should be brought before the war tribunal, except it's controlled by the very people that kidnapped me. That part of the Windsors that are my family, I hate to say, and the New World Order, Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Bilderbergers. So if that chance would ever be any good results or justice from it. But anyway, George helped kidnap me and take down his brother and signed illegal treaties that allowed the United States to put its military bases all over Great Britain and launch a global effort at controlling the world, and they have. Part of the means is through mind control, and it's so mass. So Edward Snowden just touched the tip of the iceberg on the weapons being used by the United States to control the world. What I wanted to get to, I put a lot of videos up since the abduction and probably murder. They haven't found her body of Alexis Murphy. That was on August the 3rd of 13. So it's been over a year. But I've told on Facebook. I told the media when I found out about my kidnapping. I was in a political campaign, and that was in September, October of 1983. And I came to Roanoke in October the 20th, because my jobs had been shut down, and everything was shut down. I had nowhere to go but the side of the road from one town to the other. So I came up here and lived on the Appalachian Trail, and that was October of 86. But the mind control murders I'd written about, Larry Flint was one of them that was shot in Lawrenceville. The person programmed to shoot him. And it takes on a war of its own. Mind control can be used at this time. It's mass to use mind control on an armies, etc. You can make deaths appear of natural cause. all these things. This is ongoing. It's the Tesla files. You can create an illness or you can cure it. But what's in the cure of an illness? So I put this on and about finding out about my kidnapping and that I'm the legal heir and the 99-year seal put on my father's forced takedown and with lies in my birth. I wanted to put this. It's how do you circumvent the law. It's deliberate acts that people can, if they don't have really good attorneys, the person will get away with it. Like if you want to, let me use as an example. If you want to cause a monarch to not reproduce, well, oops, you just have a slip of the scalpel and you take off at least a good bit of the penis, or maybe until taking too much foreskin off, and maybe he outgrew that to a great degree, but can you imagine the pain and suffering this child would go through going to school? Boys go into the restroom and they have to urinate in a urinal in front of other boys, being afraid to pull it out that he's going to be laughed at. And then if it's not corrected when he tries to marry or have sex, he'd be afraid to even engage in that. They're afraid of being embarrassed and laughed at. So I'm going to leave it at that. That's one of the Jews. That's a Jewish thing. It shouldn't even be used on a monarch that's certainly not Jew. Let me clue you in. Now that I wanted to, they talk about ISIS now and the beheading. So that was the point in some of this. That's graphic. If you could show it to the whole world, a doctor deliberately doing it because of who the person is. And let's get to Hyman Miller, the Jew, in Huntsville, Alabama. I was kidnapped and taken about 45 miles to Moulton. And the hostage money, the illegal treaties, Von Braun was brought over here, a decent man, and he was murdered, by the way. He really was, and he was replaced by some doctors out of Utah that get into Dr. Goodson. He was with Hyman Miller later, and he helped in trying to kill me. Oh, believe me, he did, in 1980. After I'd had antifreeze put in me, I'd done the medical malpractice book, MD, A License to Kill, and oh, how that title resonates because that's so true. But anyway, that's where Goodson comes in again, and that was 1980, and I ended up working for District Attorney Fred Simpson, living at Warren House Apartments. Here it gets into patterns. Simpson, as in Wallace Simpson, was supposed to marry my father, which was a lie, Edward VIII. She married a double. And Warren House is the Warren Commission that covered up the Kennedy assassination because Kennedy, Joe Kennedy was his father. During my kidnapping, he was the ambassador to England, and Joe Kennedy, the ambassador, and his two sons, Joe, the older, and JFK, flew in and stayed at the embassy. So how I was kidnapped, my uncle gave them access, the New World Order, brought me to Moulton, Alabama, and then I'm fast-forwarding now. I'm skipping the everyday of hell. And this is not the only time. They can decapitate you by giving you shock treatments that are illegal. It's an illegal diagnosis. It's a diagnosis. How do you disprove a doctor when they have diagnosed you and used drugs that are for someone who's psychotic, and it's a total lie? But that's what's being done, and I'm going to say this again. It's a link to the mind control murders like James Holmes in Aurora, Colorado. Mind control has nothing to do with mental illness. He's been tortured and treated for mental illness, and he's a victim of mind control. Where are the doctors and psychiatrists in this whole fiasco of lies? And it has to address the mind control and try to stop it. MK Ultra was brought before the U.S. Senate in '53, given a slap on the wrist, and turned out to keep going, and then it's an offshoot of it. There's different agencies using it. And by the way, when I did the book on medical malpractice, mind control, 76 till April Fool Day of 80, when they put the antifreeze in me, they